Welcome back to the Armchair Verdict, and welcome if it's your first time here. In this video, I'm going to give you my full reaction to that incredible night of boxing in Saudi Arabia, and I'm going to tell you what I would like to see next for each fighter that was involved in the card. I'm going to be working my way from the bottom of the card to the top, so stick around to the end of the video to hear my thoughts on that crazy main event between Beterbiev and Bivol, and of course the co-main event between Joseph Parker and Martin Bakole. I'm also going to give you my fight of the night as well, so look out for that. Now, first things first, what a beautiful night of boxing. We were treated, Sunday morning I genuinely woke up like happy and buzzing because I was blessed to have witnessed that. It was amazing. The night couldn't have started any better with that opening fight between Joshua Buatsi and Callum Smith. Early fight of the year contender, instant classic, and that round 6 is one of the best rounds of boxing that I've seen in a very, very, very long time. Full credit to both men. They put on a show for us. Coming into the fight, a lot of people, including myself, were quite critical of Callum Smith and had big questions over his desire, why he was still in boxing, if he was fighting for the right reasons and how much he had left. The way he fought against Joshua Buatsi was like he heard all of that criticism, took it personally, and went out there to prove a point to show people, how dare you doubt me? That man still has a lot left to offer the sport of boxing, and I'm proud to say that I was wrong. Remarkable performance for him. It shut me right up. As for Joshua Buatsi, the lack of head movement was a bit worrying, but extremely tough man. In that 6th round, I was screaming at my TV, take a knee, because I was certain he was going to get stopped. How he managed to make it to the final bell, all 12 rounds, without hitting the canvas is a miracle. That man is made of stuff that the average man isn't. Super tough man, and I take my hat off to him. Incredible. Now, as far as what I want to see next for both men, Joshua Buatsi, I want to see him in Rantley Yard now. We've been waiting on this fight for about 6 years, maybe more. Now's the time. I hear some people since Saturday night saying that they don't want to see the Yard Buatsi fight now because Buatsi lost to Callum Smith. And that makes zero sense to me. Anthony Yard has lost 3 fights. One of those to Lyndon Arthur, who hasn't accomplished nearly as much as what Callum Smith has. So I don't see why Joshua Buatsi losing a very entertaining fight against a former world champion devalues the fight with Anthony Yard in any way, shape or form. We've been waiting too long for that fight, so let's get it on before the end of the year. East London versus South London, let's go. Now or never, boys. As for Callum Smith, what I would really like to see for him is David Benavidez. That would be a barn burner of a fight. 2 light heavyweights who are just going to come forward and try and beat the crap out of each other. Both men as well coming off impressive wins at light heavyweight division. So fight it out with the #1 contender spot. It makes perfect sense. That's the way to go for me. Now, the second fight of the night, Zhilei Zhang versus Agit Kabayel. Another banger of the fight that kept the momentum going. If you'd watched my previous prediction video, I did pick Kabayel to win this fight, and pretty much for the reasons that he did win. It went as I expected. Zhang is a very big man. I think he weighs about 22 stone. He's about 41 years of age, and he has known conditioning and stamina issues. Kabayel, very good movement and very, very good body puncher. I couldn't see it. Obviously, Zhang's dangerous. He can catch you and stop you. He's dangerous all throughout the fight, as he's shown in the 5th round when he dropped Kabayel. But style-wise, I just thought this matchup favoured Kabayel hugely. And he went out there and did a job on Zhang. Very impressive win and scary man to watch. It was a great old school sort of heavyweight shootout kind of fight, and I enjoyed every moment of it while it lasted. Now, what I want to see next for both men, Zhang, I would actually like to see him go in with Filip Hrgović again. Their first fight was quite controversial. Zhang was awarded a losing decision and Hrgović was awarded the win. Many people that watched that fight felt that Zhang should have been the rightful winner. With both men coming off losses, I think now's the perfect time to settle that score. So that's what I would like to see next for Zhilei Zhang. As for Agit Kabayel, this is probably going to be a bit controversial and people might disagree with me, but I don't care. This is my YouTube channel and I'm going to say what I want and how I feel. I would like to see Kabayel in with Alexander Usyk. Now, hear me out. I know you think it seems a bit premature, but I don't see anyone in the heavyweight division more deserving of a title shot than Kabayel, other than maybe Joseph Parker. He's undefeated. He has a win against Derek Chisora. He fought Makhmudov, who everyone was saying was this monster and was the favourite. He stopped Makhmudov. He fought Frank Sanchez, who was highly rated. He stopped Frank Sanchez. He's now fought this beast in Zhilei Zhang, who many people were picking to win. He stopped Zhilei Zhang as well. And he's such a good body puncher. I know Dillian White calls himself the body snatcher, but to me, Agit Kabayel is the body snatcher of the heavyweight division. And what is Alexander Usyk's perceived weakness? It's the body. So who better to fight Alexander Usyk than Agit Kabayel? The body snatcher hunting the so-called weak body. It would be like cat versus mouse. And who better to test the body of Alexander Usyk than Kabayel? Also, style-wise, he's very different to everyone that Usyk's faced at heavyweight. He's not like Dubois, Joshua, or Tyson Fury, bigger, slower men. So style-wise, that is the fight that intrigues me the most. I know it probably won't happen, but that's what I would like to see. So next up on the bill, we had Vergil Ortiz Jr. versus Israel Madrimov. Also, if you've seen my prediction video, I did pick Vergil Ortiz Jr. to win this one. This fight, I had different expectations for it. I thought it would have caught fire and been more of a contest, but it was very cagey, very tactical. Madrimov's performance was a bit odd to me. He didn't really get going for the first half of the fight. He was moving around a lot, didn't really engage, and he sort of gave away the first half of the fight. And then when he did try and chase Ortiz, it was too little too late. So it was what it was, but very good performance from Ortiz, very disciplined, and another solid win at the super welterweight weight limit. So he's doing good things up there now, and he's gone in a good direction. What I would like to see next for both men, Madrimov, I want to see him in with Sergey Bohachuk. They were supposed to fight before this fight was announced, but that got cancelled because it would have been too quick a turnaround. I would like to see them men go at it and see how that pans out. Bohachuk was in a very entertaining fight with Vergil Ortiz, and Madrimov has had 2 close losses to Ortiz and Terence Crawford. They're both coming off losses to Vergil Ortiz, so the fight just makes sense to me, and it's a good way to get yourself back in contention. As for Vergil Ortiz Jr., I would like to see him get a title shot now. I think he's earned that. He's had a good, solid string of wins in the division against solid opposition. Of all the champions, you've got Fundora and you've got Bakram Murtazaliev, the Russian guy that beat Tim Tszyu last year. That is the fight that I would really like to see. Bakram Murtazaliev, very heavy-handed, come forward, powerful fighter, much like Vergil Ortiz. I think that's got the makings of a modern classic. If those two was to trade leather, it would be a fight of the year contender, guaranteed. So without a shadow of a doubt, Vergil Ortiz Jr. versus Bakram Murtazaliev, that's what I would love to see next. Now the next fight, Carlos Adames versus Hamza Shiraz. I was in 2 minds about this, but I did pick Hamza Shiraz to win. I did say my head said Adames, but my heart said Hamza Shiraz. I'm a big Hamza Shiraz supporter and really wanted him to win and bring home that world title. As someone who does support Hamza Shiraz, I can't make an argument for him winning that fight, and I can't make an argument for a draw. Carlos Adames should have been awarded the rightful winner of that and should have had his hand raised. It was a solid effort by Hamza Shiraz. Early on in the fight, he was very competitive. But in the second half, Adames just proved too experienced, too tricky, and too clever for him. He was very elusive, made himself hard to pin down. And you could see it. Hamza Shiraz was frustrated and struggled to put anything together. It was a shame, but Adames should have won that fight. The judges made a horrible decision. Thankfully, Adames keeps his title and can go again. Shiraz, he has nothing to be ashamed of. He's a very young man. He'll go again. And I think he'll become a better fighter from that performance. He'll learn so much from that fight, in the same way that Canelo Alvarez did when he lost to Floyd Mayweather Jr., or Daniel Dubois when he lost to Alexander Usyk. You saw him come on leaps and bounds and become a much better fighter after. So I have no doubt in my mind that Hamza Shiraz will challenge for a world title again. What I would like to see for Hamza next, I think the Denzel Bentley fight is the one that makes a lot of sense. Both men are with Frank Warren, both British fighters. They both challenged for versions of the world title and just come up short. The careers are in similar places, and it'll be a good domestic dust-up to get them back on track. And I would pay to see that happily. So Hamza Shiraz versus Denzel Bentley next. That's what I would like to see personally. As for Carlos Adames, I think he has to unify now. Get with one of the other champions. I think of all the available champions, maybe Erislandy Lara, Dominican Republic versus Cuba. Or potentially he could do Janibek. Janibek's got 2 of the belts, so why not do that? Although I know Janibek has got a fight booked in Kazakhstan, so maybe do Lara. The winner of that fight meets the winner of Janibek in his fight at the end of the year for undisputed middleweight champion. I think that's the way to go. Next up on the card, we had Shakur Stevenson versus Josh Padley. Now, first of all, I want to say shout out to Josh Padley. That man, he's a superhero. He came in on a few days' notice, made weight somehow, and fought for the world title against a 3-weight champion, an Olympic silver medalist who is much more experienced than him, and gave a brave performance. Real life superhero and a real gamer. And you can see he wasn't there just trying to show up and just trying to get a payday. He wanted to win. He wanted to change his life. Even when he got dropped, he's banging the canvas with his fists because he was frustrated, and you could see it meant a lot to him. I was rooting for him, and he did himself proud. So, well, good job for him. Shakur Stevenson, his style isn't the most fan-friendly, and you could hear the crowd getting a bit frustrated and booing him. It was a shame. He's a very skilled fighter. I think maybe the lack of power is a big problem for him. You could see at certain points he was really trying to let his hands go, and he was throwing it with all his might, and he was grunting and groaning, but the shots just weren't having the desired effect. So the lack of power seems a bit of a problem for Shakur, but he's a great fighter, and I do believe with the right dance partner, he will put on a great fight. It'll be like a Bull and Matador kind of situation if he's in with a Zepeda or Gervonta Davis, who's going to try and come and hunt him down, and he's fighting on the back foot and countering. So, yeah, good fight. Well done to both men, considering the late change. They were professional and they put on a good show. Josh Padley, I would like to see him on another Riyadh season card, and I'd like to see him get a full camp to show the best of his ability against a solid opponent. I think he's earned that, and I think he should be rewarded for stepping up and saving the show. That's what I'd like to see next for him. As for Shakur Stevenson, this is a guy that's been pro over 8 years now. It's time for a big fight. Zepeda or preferably Gervonta Davis. Either one of those is what I would like to see. Unify with another champion, put on a big fight. Nothing else would be accepted. That's the way to go now. Let's make it happen. Eddie Hearn, get to work. The co-main event was obviously meant to be Dubois Parker. We know what happened, and we got Parker versus Martin Bakole. If you saw my prediction video about this fight, I did choose Joseph Parker to win, purely because of the circumstances and the lack of preparation for Martin Bakole. It was a big ask for him to win that fight, let alone survive the 12 rounds. I mean, the guy, he took 3 planes on short notice from the Congo to Saudi Arabia. He arrived in Saudi Arabia in, 3 in the morning, Saturday morning. Probably didn't sleep a wink. He came to the ring wearing Daniel Dubois' gloves with the triple D on them. He wasn't prepared, and you could see he wasn't in physical shape to compete. So it was what it was. Professional performance from Parker. You still got to beat who's in front of you. He didn't take his eye off the prize, and he got the job done. As for what's next, I would like to see Martin Bakole get a full camp and a big opportunity. From what he's said since the fight, he says he's going to still try and fight F.A. Ajagba in May. So if he can get himself in shape and come through that test, because F.A. Ajagba is no joke, very powerful, dangerous opponent. But if Bakole can win that, I would like to see him given a big opportunity again on the big stage with a full camp against the top heavyweight, because he's been waiting for that opportunity for a long time now. So that is something that would interest me. For Joseph Parker, I mean, I was talking about Caballero, how I'd like to see him in with Usyk, because I felt he deserves a world title fight. I feel Joseph Parker deserves a world title fight. He's been on a very good run. He's turned up to Riyadh with the intention of fighting for the world title. that was snatched away from him last minute. He happily took on Martin Bakole, the late dangerous opponent, didn't complain, said, yeah, bring it on, I'm up for it. He should get his world title shot with Daniel Dubois. I think that fight should be rescheduled. So Parker versus Dubois, and then maybe Caballero versus Usyk, and then winner takes all. That's what I would like to see. I have heard noises about Dubois versus Usyk. I thought it was a bit disrespectful, if I'm honest. Dubois pulled out of the fight, and within a day, people were talking about Dubois versus Usyk. It didn't really sit right with me, and it's not a fight that particularly interests me. I've seen it once, and other than one moment in the fight, Usyk did win in pretty dominating fashion. So I think that fight can wait. I would like to see Parker Dubois, Caballero versus Usyk, and then whoever wins each of those fights, they can come together and fight. That would be my personal preference. Now, for the main event between Beterbiev and Bivol. Oh my goodness, this fight was a thing of beauty. It was a work of art. Like, that is genuinely one of the best fights I've seen in forever. So much, it was just so high level, so much skill on display between two masters. That's what they are, masters of boxing. And both of them put on masterful performances. But someone had to win, and that someone was Dimitry Bivol. It was insane. Like, the first few rounds, it was quite cagey, competitive. I was like, okay, this is cool. Both of them came out a lot more aggressively than the first fight, and it was a completely different matchup this time. From about round 3 to 6, you could see Beterbiev just started turning on the style and really going for Bivol aggressively. And I genuinely thought Bivol was done. It looked like he was just getting worked and broken. And I thought it's only a matter of time before Beterbiev gets his man out of there. Bivol somehow found some kind of second win about the 7th round. And he just went on a tear, and he just turned up the gears, turned up the levels. He just looked a class above Beterbiev. Beterbiev just looked second best at that point and couldn't really keep up. And it was just a beautiful performance from Dimitry Bivol. I mean, he's shown why he's the undisputed champion. It was just incredible. He earned that win fully. I mean, the first win, there was a bit of a dispute over who should have won it maybe. This time I felt like he won clearly, and there was no dispute. I haven't really heard anyone saying, oh, I think Beterbiev won. That's what you wanted to see, a clear winner. Now, as for what's next for both men, it looks like we're going to get a trilogy, which I think is fair. It's 1-1. I think, yeah, Bivol got a chance to avenge his loss, so Beterbiev should get a chance to avenge his as well. If they want to do that again, I have no problem with it. Take my money. And if that fight is of a similar level to what the first fights have been, we could be talking about one of the best trilogies of all time. Speaking of which, I'm going to do a video on the best trilogy soon, so look out for that. As for my fight of the night, now, I have to pick Beterbiev versus Bivol as the fight of the night. It was just breathtaking. It really was one of the best fights I've seen in a very long time. It was a classic. However, I do want to give an honourable mention to Buatsi versus Smith, because that was also an instant classic and a fight of the year contender. So both of those fights, amazing. But Beterbiev versus Bivol, just because of the high skill level on display and everything that came with it, that's my pick for fight of the night. It was amazing. But guys, that's just really my reaction, my feedback to the card in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Let me know your thoughts. What did you think? Were you happy with the card? Do you think it lived up to the hype as being the greatest card of all time? Who would you like to see next for all the fighters involved as well? Do you agree with what I've chosen, or would you like to see some of the fighters on the card take a better path? Let me know your thoughts, sound off in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.